Hi there, everybody. I'm Luca and welcome to A Culinary Journey. We are going to take a journey into how to make food taste really good and still keep it as healthy as possible, but not lose any flavor. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to show you today because we're going to do a nice spicy shrimp with sun-dried tomatoes and a little bit of cayenne pepper. It's going to really pop it and make your metabolism just fly. And then the other thing we're going to do braised chicken with apples. But the one thing that happens with chicken is that, you know, when you have a white meat chicken, sometimes it gets a little dry. I'm going to use dark meat chicken. It has a little more fat in it, but that's going to kind of cook down in the braising. We're going to have a great time with it. We're going to use Efemir beer, and we're going to use apples and shallots and sage and all these great flavors. I have two great guests with me. We'll talk a little bit about health. We'll talk a little bit about rock and roll. You never know what's going to happen, and your culinary journey starts now. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. I'm here with my two guests. We have Parker, how's it going, sir?
Nice
and
to see
Acea, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right, we're going to be talking about some great food. Hopefully you're into a little bit of spice and some apples and all kind of things. That's good?
I am excited, yeah.
All right, good. We're gonna have a blast with it. Now, what we're going to do is actually prepare an appetizer, then an entree. Easy things, one pan. See, the big thing for me is trying to cook everything in one pan. And so when we talk about, when we get to the chicken thighs, is braising chicken thighs and letting them cook and finish cooking in a pan. That's really important to me because last thing I want to do is actually take that, put it in the oven into a different pan, and then have to clean everything. Everything's going to get done in this one pan. It's going to be beautiful. Same thing with the shrimp, and it'll be quick to serve. It's all going to be quick cooking and breaking it down quickly. I use quick a lot in that sentence. Speaking of which, Parker, tell everybody where you're from.
Well, you know, you can hear me on 101.9 K-Rock here in Keene, and actually my co-host on our fitness show, 93.5 WEEI's Total Fitness Zone Sunday mornings, is here with me, Acea Theroux. And we do this fitness show, you know, every Sunday morning, and, you know, we always talk about eating and eating healthy, and this is actually a great meal to talk about because it sounds like it's very healthy and it's a health conscious meal.
Well, and I think, Acea, you could talk about, we mentioned a little bit, it's all in moderation, right?
Sure,
life is all about moderation. It's not about a diet. It's not about a rigorous workout, because if you do too much, then you can hurt yourself. It's about doing everything in moderation to keep you healthy.
Yeah, it's basically finding a balance between everything.
Yeah, and with a busy lifestyle and with kids and families and what have you, you get into that rut. And what people do when they get into that rut and they're doing too much of one thing is they eat unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I think eating healthy starts from eating from scratch, and part of it is social too.
Absolutely.
So, and Acea, where do you work also?
I work over the Total Fitness Zone.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're a trainer over there, right?
Yes, I am.
So when you train people, does how they eat come up as much as
I'm
what
a
they do?
nutritionist as well, so it's 80% of your gains and reaching your goals comes from what we put in our mouth.
Right. So you could work out all you want, but if you're not
eat
taking
terrible,
care of yourself, that's
absolutely
what happens. All right. So what we're going to do is use ingredients that are going to be good for you and healthy for you. And again, it's starting from what's actually the most basic of ingredients is what you're putting in with fats and whatever. And you've seen my show. When I use heavy cream, I'm going to use heavy cream, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to use it for what it needs to be used for. But when I can, using extra virgin olive oil or good olive oil or canola oil, something that could cut back in any of the fats, we try to do. And this is going to be a quick cooking dish. By cooking items quickly, you're also going to keep all of their nutrients in there too. So let's make our shrimp. And Acea, you said something about spices helping the metabolism, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They speed them right up.
So how does that work out? Is it just the spices because they're getting everything?
Yeah, it's the body
your
temperature.
endorphins
The body temperature goes up, and yeah, it speeds the
Awesome.
metabolism. As long as you don't if you do it sporadically,
Right.
it can help you more.
Because once you get used to it, just like
The
anything
body
else,
will adapt, yeah.
goes back. So the show should be called All About Moderation, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Right? All right, so we're going to get this nice and hot. We're going to get our shrimp searing in there. And shrimp cook rather quickly. Again, I like to make things quick. Part of the thing about having a restaurant or being in the restaurant business, you learn how to make a menu that's wrapped around cooking things quickly. So because here I'm cooking for you two, and I have a good amount of time to do it. But when I'm at the restaurant or I have to cook for 50, 60 people, you don't always have that opportunity to just say, oh, you know, we're going to take our time and slow this and slow that. How do we do things in one pan? So that's what we're going to do here.
Do you think seafood's more difficult to work with as far as cooking? I mean, does it burn quicker? Does it cook faster?
I actually find it to be easier. It cooks faster. You just can't leave it. I mean, you know, I mean, really in essence, if I cook a steak, it cooks as fast as seafood because I eat it next to blood red.
Right.
So it cooks quickly no matter what I do. But when I cook seafood, it definitely cooks quicker. So when you're cooking your sauces, you have to think that way. So what I'm doing is I threw my shallots in. I want them to have a little bit of crunch to the sauce. I threw the shallots in. I'm turning over. I'm getting that nice little pink and opaque color that I want on my shrimp. I'm going to add my sun-dried tomatoes. Now, I've got to be careful adding something like the sun-dried tomatoes. These will burn quickly. They have a little bit of salt and a good amount of sugar into them, too, because tomatoes have natural sugar. And when you dry them, it just concentrates the flavor. But I don't put them directly onto the pan because they'll start to burn. And I just put them right in there like that. And then I'm going to get my cayenne pepper in. And this is how quick this dish is. I mean, we're talking about speed beyond belief. This first dish is we're going to cook down so quickly. Got some fresh herbs in there. And we're going to we'll put some more sun-drieds. We're going to kind of let them all create their own sauce. And I think we need a little more spice than that, right, Acea?
Oh, yeah.
You like a little spicy. All right,
spice.
there you go. Let's get this up on high. And those shrimp are cooking down. The sun-dried tomatoes are now we're going to also add some wine to this. And it's going to help the tomatoes. The acidity in the wine plays off the acidity in the tomatoes. And what happens here, it's going to help them rehydrate just a little bit and add more flavor to the sauce because we want to create a sauce. And we are going to finish this sauce off with a little butter. If you really can't have cream or whatever, it's going to be fine here. But what I'm going to be able to do is create a nice glistening sauce. It'll have a nice look too with a little bit of butter. So my shrimp are basically done. Try not to overcook your shrimp. I think that's something that's done a lot where people overcook shrimp and the next thing you knew they're a little tough or rubbery. We really don't want to do that. We want to kind of just cook them straight till they're done, which is what did it take us? A couple of minutes to do this?
Yeah,
really quick.
Wow.
Really quick sauce. We're not doing a lot of anything except for just enjoying, and it gives you more time with your friends and family. So if you have friends over and you want to do something fun, well, you know, you've cooked some shrimp, you did it to order. It's nice and fresh. You didn't have to do it ahead of time, and it was nice and quick. Now what we have here is the essence of our sauce. So we'll just grab a little bit of butter. Might be more than you want, but again, never apologize for using good ingredients. Because once you have good ingredients involved, the food just tastes better. That's the way I look at it. And it's going to let us glisten the sauce. You've got to be really careful that you don't let the butter break the sauce. So we're just going to kind of let it cook down.
You know, we talked about that, and we're going to this weekend on the show, is that savoring the taste and taking your time to be able to like enjoy your relatives and things like that with the holidays coming up.
Oh, exactly.
So that you don't overeat, and we do, you know.
And I think what Luca was saying too, when you use good ingredients, everything tastes better too.
Sure.
And you think about your grandparents, right, or your grandmother. Everybody says, "Oh, grandma's cooking was the best." Well, grandma used real ingredients.
And you're absolutely right. I think what people do is we eat a lot to kind of make up for the fact that it doesn't taste like anything. Right. So we just keep eating. Hopefully, we get some flavor. And here we don't need a lot. We just put a little bit on. But you know what? The better you make it.
You know, I'm always talking about convenience and things, and this is fast food. This is fast food.
This is actually faster than fast food, and it's gonna cost you a heck of a lot less than going to get a fast food burger. That's for sure. Right. And you're thinking fancy. You know, you could go to a restaurant anywhere in town and get something that looks like this. That's really nice. So that's our first dish, a little spicy shrimp with some sun-dried tomato. Nice and easy and quick. Next one's going to take just a little bit more time, but again, we're going to stay in one pan. Don't go away because I got Parker and Acea here. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about food. I'm going to get Parker to talk about rock and roll at some point. So anything can happen here. So and he knows Chubby Checker, but that's another story. Hey, don't go away. We'll be back in a culinary minute. Enjoy, gentlemen. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. I'm here with Parker and Acea, And how were the shrimp, gentlemen?
The shrimp was
Are
fantastic.
you stealing his wine? Did you just do that?
Yeah. Well, you know. He's nursing it.
I actually thought he was drinking a lot.
No,
No, I'm
I'm he's nursing it. I figured I'd help him out just a little.
You don't have to be on the air later today or anything, do you?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Is he taking my class tonight?
It's fine.
It's all in moderation.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all moderation. It's fine.
To see you in class.
Well, anyway, the next dish we're going to be doing,
What are
we
we
did a
doing
nice shrimp dish to start off with. Now we're going to do a braised chicken thigh. Now, my favorite part of the chicken is the dark meat. I just love it. It does contain more fat, but it also contains a ton of flavor, and it goes a long way. Now, the fat that's on here is actually going to help us create the juices we need to cook down to the next part. So we're going to actually braise the apple and the chicken together. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to season my chicken, my chicken thighs. And now you notice I cut them open a little bit. They're going to cook quicker that way. You could pound them out almost like a chicken breast and then make them a one-cook wonder or one-pan wonder where you don't have to throw these in the oven.
No, what part of the chicken is that again?
This is the thigh.
This is the thigh.
So you're
You know
going
where
to
that
keep
is?
the fat.
Oh, yeah.
on
I don't
there
want
right
to
now.
take
See,
this.
Everybody takes it off, right?
Right. Everybody takes it off because you're thinking, oh, this fat, I don't want to chew into it. It's going to be gone by the time I get it.
Right.
Fat is flavor, and cooking fat is
Absolutely.
flavor. And you don't, and again, it goes back to, you know what? Let's talk about keeping things flavorful because we take away. We like, oh, I can't put fat in this. I can't put fat in that. Well, but, you know, it was meant to be on there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to give us flavor. I was sure it was for other reasons, but for us, it's all about the flavor. So we're gonna braise the chicken on one side. Now, chicken thighs too cook quicker. I just like how they cook quicker, and they stay tender and moist throughout. So when we start adding the ingredients, you're gonna find out this just comes out really tender and moist, and we're gonna sear the fat into what we're doing. So we seasoned it a little bit. Oh wait, I gotta wait. Sometimes you gotta take some time. This is the point where I find that I do it. I find most people at home do it. We're afraid to just let things cook. Now sometimes we have to get out of the way. Let it happen. Let it do what it's supposed to do. I had a gentleman on one of my shows once, and he cuts hair. It's Nick from Moda, and I say, you ever notice that you look at someone, and Park and I don't have that problem anymore, where they kind of style us differently, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, you know where you like look at someone and say, okay, the hair is telling me what to do to it, right? And that's basically what it is. And I guess it works with body shapes too.
Sure.
Your body shape is how you dictate what you make them do, right?
Absolutely.
All right? So the food's the same way. Sometimes I have to let it talk to me. It's like a food whisperer. I just kind of let it, sometimes I go, oh, I want to do this to it, but it just doesn't work. I just don't feel it. So letting it take time and searing in those flavors, letting the fat kind of break down, that's important to what we're doing. We actually put a little flour on it, so it allowed it to it protects the meat, the flour, and it's also going to help us thicken our sauce later on. So some great things right there. Now we're going to add in our ingredients. Again, we're going to keep this in one dish. So by wanting to add in our ingredients, we add it after we flip it over. Chicken's still cooking. Now we want to just add some moisture and flavor to it. But we're going to start with shallots. And I love cooking with shallots. Not enough people use shallots. It's, let's say, a cross between having a lighter onion.
I was just
and
about to ask you that.
Yeah, it's just like an onion, right?
Yeah. It's basically an onion, but it's lighter in flavor, not quite as harsh.
Okay.
When you get an older onion, sometimes, you know, everybody's crying
Yeah.
because you're cutting it. The older the onion, the more the sulfuric acid in there is going to bite you when you cut into it. Here, they're a little bit lighter, nice texture. It's like adding an onion to your dish. Notice I haven't added any garlic yet, right? I'm trying to stand back from that. Because sometimes you add garlic too early in a dish.
Overwhelming or?
Overwhelming, and it'll burn on you. You got to
Oh,
watch
okay.
out for that too. So we're going to add our shallots in there. Talked about doing apples in here. So I'm going to cut down some fresh apples. And apples, sage, chicken, those are just some great flavors that go incredible together. And while we braise everything down, they'll just get in there.
See, I would think that apple would have a lighter taste than, like, you know, or a less strong taste than like an orange or a citrus fruit, you know what I mean? It
Oh,
wouldn't
that-
give much to it.
But we're gonna, you'll see what we'll do. We're gonna cheat a little bit and get more flavor in there. And it's always a way to introduce some new booze or alcohol into one of my dishes. So, which you'll see. Yeah, that's a good, I'm glad you brought that up. And we're also gonna, at this point, throw in some rubbed sage. Now, if you've cooked with me before, what you'll find is I like to use the different ingredients at different times. Any dry herbs or dry spices, as long as they're not really old or been on your shelf for like a year, are great early on in a dish. They get rehydrated with the ingredients that are in there. They start becoming part of what you're doing. And sage, you got to be careful. You can't put too much because it's really overpowering. But if I'm using fresh sage, which I'm doing at the end of the dish, I do it last minute because then those flavors pop.
I don't even think I know the taste of sage.
Really?
I mean, what is?
Oh, you're going to try it?
You're going to try it right now.
Okay, now I'm gonna
It's
find out.
it's a savory,
right, I'm gonna
savory
try this.
spice. Now it's really strong and overpowering, so it'll take you time for your palate to readjust. But it's got this real nice bite to it.
It's
great.
Christmassy.
Reminds me.
Right.
I was just about to
It's
say
the holidays.
Christmas.
Exactly.
I just ate a pine tree.
Sage is
Yeah, right.
great in stuffings. It's an amazing thing to add to your stuffing. And if you want to do something like that, it will remind you of Christmas. Great one. That's awesome. Christmassy.
I'm getting us
All
in
right.
the holiday spirit.
Exactly.
I love it.
Good thing. We're going to add some garlic at this point because now, by the time we're done braising this in this liquid that we're going to create, actually the garlic is going to cook. Now, I don't want raw garlic, but I don't want burnt garlic. Burnt garlic will just give too much of a bit of flavor. So we have that. And we're going to add a little bit of brown sugar.
Mick Jagger would be happy. There's my rock and roll
Brown
reference.
sugar. Thank you. I was waiting
I
for
know,
something
I
like
know,
that.
you were waiting for that.
You almost want some brown sugar in the background. There you go, playing right now. Now, what the important thing about our dishes too is doing a balance of sweet, spicy, savory. You know, so we got some sweetness to this. You're going to get that Christmassy, savory from the fresh sage that we're doing later on, and those are kind of all blend together and give us some nice flavors.
It kind of seems like when you cook with meat, you always want to add some sweet with tart.
Without a doubt.
You know, it always seems like that's the way.
The Italians
recipes
call
go.
it agrodolce, which is
Agrodolce.
sweet and bitter. Agro being bitter,
Oh, okay.
dolce being sweet. And you know what, when you think of other cuisines and ethnic cuisines, you have things like Chinese food where you have sweet and sour pork,
Sure.
right?
Okay.
It's sour
Yeah.
and sweet, all these flavors combined. There's no dish that you put together that will have, if it's just one level, let's say it's one level playing field, right? And then you add some sweetness to it, all of a sudden everything else pops.
Yeah.
When you do baking, you add salt so that the sugar pops. So there's all those little
Okay.
kind of balances. And using balance in life and
Oh, there you
balance
go.
in eating, use balance in your food and you balance them
Yeah.
out. Now I talked about what we're going to add to this, and you both got to smell. They don't have smell-o-vision, but you need to. What's that smell like?
That's beer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's beer.
But it's an apple beer.
Oh nice.
It's an Ephemere apple beer. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit to this, and that's going to help braise our chicken. It's going to keep it nice and tender and moist and braise it down, and all these flavors are going to come together. All right? So we got that in there.
Yeah, did you grow up in an ethnic household? I mean, was there a lot of ethnic foods and things like that?
Oh,
Italian?
I was born in Italy,
Okay.
and I grew up in the United States, and it was all about Italian food.
Right.
I mean, but it was all about trying new things. So we were always able to kind of bring in, incorporate from other cultures, and bring food to the table. My parents, and you might know this right now too, but my parents are the best cooks I've ever had.
Of course.
So, but they should have been professionals. My brother is a professional cook. He's one of the best chefs I've ever met.
Wow.
I'm actually the eater in the family, and look at that, I have my own show. How did that work out?
See, I grew up in the same kind of situation. I'm half Italian and half Polish.
Oh, so you got the best of both
I
worlds.
got the, yeah, it
food-wise,
was,
right?
and both my grandparents spoke in broken English, so it was,
that's
it was
awesome.
fantastic. All kinds of different foods. I don't even know what I ate half the time, but it was good. You know,
But and again, they started from doing things from scratch.
Right.
Simple ingredients, letting the food talk to themselves, talk to them, and tell them what they wanted to do. So we're braising down our chicken thighs here, and look at that. If you get a look at these, they're starting to brown up nicely on the side that we flipped over. The beer is going to reduce. The apple, we have sage in there. We have garlic, shallots. All these great flavors are going to come together. And as we let them cook down, just take their time. We're going to come back. We'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll slurry, which is using some cornstarch to thicken and give it a nice sheen. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Acea and Parker, and we're cooking up braised chicken thighs, which are just absolutely yummy. And you know, when you mentioned that it reminds you of the holidays, this is a great fall holiday dish too. Let's say if you didn't want to do the turkey, or if you didn't want to go into the, all these other bigger items, and you wanted to kind of go on the less expensive side, well, you do it with a little bit of braised chicken, and you get some great flavor. For me, I'm a big fan of turkey dark meat, so doing braised chicken thighs is perfect. And what I'm doing here at the end, now if you take a look at the sauce, we're kind of reducing it down. We're not using any butter to thicken. I'm just reducing it down, let it bubble. In there, we have the Ephemere beer, which is just a way of saying an apple-style beer. We have apples and shallots. We have garlic. We have some great flavors. Of course, the chicken was in there. And then what I'm going to do is add a cornstarch slurry. Now, I'm taking the apple beer and cornstarch. You gentlemen know what cornstarch is? Huh?
I don't really know what cornstarch is.
Cornstarch is a starch from corn.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
the
a tough show,
starch.
dude. It gets really tough.
Well, that's a trick question.
Anyway, no, what it is it's a great way to add thickness and body. It basically binds this whole sauce together. Now, what looks like a little watery mess with a little bit of cornstarch gets glistening and soft and becomes a sauce. So you go. There you go. Last minute, we're going to add some sage. Just a good amount of sage to kind of get some nice flavors. And then when something like this happens, actually there's a little too much cornstarch in here because it's actually a little too thick. And you can see it right on the camera. It's just getting a little thick. What I like to do is just loosen it up. And if you need to loosen it up, just put a little bit more beer in. You can't go wrong. And then voila. Perfect. So we're going to let that cook down. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Parker, tell everybody where they could hear you all the time and your show.
1019 K-Rock. I'm on from 3 to 8. And we do a fitness show. Acea and I do a fitness show Sundays on WEEI 93.5. And it's Sunday mornings, 10 o'clock live, and then a rebroadcast Wednesdays at 6.
So it's all about moderation, right, Acea?
Yes, it is.
Imagine me on a fitness show, seriously. I mean,
Huh? You want to fit? Yeah, no, that is kind of funny.
But it's Acea, really.
Is this a work in progress?
I think so. It has to be.
Yeah. Is this your biggest challenge?
No.
No?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, he's one of the hardest workers I have.
Really?
Yeah.
I have no choice.
Well, we finish it up with our little holiday-style meal,
Wow.
braised chicken and apples with a little bit of sage, some great flavors.
Fantastic.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
Hope
having
you
me.
had a good time.
Yeah.
We did.
And it's over. We're done. We got to go. So until our next culinary journey, enjoy the experience.